As a kid, I was terrified of being still. My parents thought I was hyperactive, but it wasn't energy. It was a premonition. I used to stare at my action figures and porcelain dolls, waiting for the moment their plastic eyes would blink. To me, anything that imitated a human form felt like a predator in a state of hibernation. The doctors called it automatonophobia, an irrational fear of humanoid figures. But as I grew older, the fear didn't fade. It sharpened. I developed a sort of tactile resonance. I could stand in a room with a mannequin and tell you without looking exactly where it was positioned because the air around it felt hollow, displaced. Needless to say, I stayed away from fairs and museums until the summer of '98 when the Ethelgard traveling carnival rolled into town. On the surface, it was perfect. It had the smell of scorched sugar and diesel, the cacophony of overlapping calliope music, and the blinding neon of the Ferris wheel. My friends dragged me there, and for an hour, I let myself believe I was normal! We ate funnel cakes and threw darts at balloons. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the hollow feeling returned. It was a cold weight in my gut, pulling me away from the bright lights toward the back of the lot, hidden behind the noisy machinery of the tilt-a-whirl. There, tucked into a pocket of deep shadow, sat a tent. It was half-shrouded in gray canvas that seemed to swallow the light. A single, flickering bulb hung over a hand-painted wooden sign, "Welcome to the puppet party." There was no Barker, no line. Just a heavy velvet curtain that smelled like ancient dust and formaldehyde. My friends were nowhere to be seen. I should have turned back, but my resonance was screaming, not of a hollow space, but of a crowded one. I stepped inside. The tent was vast, much larger than it looked from the outside. The air was frigid, arranged in a massive circle were dozens of life-sized puppets. They were terrifyingly detailed. Some were dressed in Victorian mourning lace. Others wore the dust-covered overalls of 1930s Dust Bowl farmers or the bright synthetic peon and a Nike Sly. They were all automated. A series of overhead wires and floor-mounted brass gears kept them in a state of perpetual, jerky motion. A lace-clad woman offered a wooden teacup to a soldier with a missing jaw. A young boy in a newsboy cap endlessly waved a stiff, wooden hand. I walked to the center of the circle, my heart hammering against my ribs. The craftsmanship was beyond anything I'd ever seen. The wood of their faces had pores. The glass of their eyes had tiny, broken, red vessels. Then, I saw the girl in the sundress. She was positioned near the exit, her wooden arm cranking a music box that played a slowed-down, distorted version of Pop Goes the Weasel. I recognized the mole on her cheek. I recognized the silver locket around her neck, the one I'd seen on the missing posters taped to the telephone poles outside the Carnival gates 3 days ago. touched her hand. It wasn't cold wood. It was room temperature waxy. Beneath the layer of clear shellac and paint, I felt the unmistakable faint drum of a trapped, frantic pulse. Her eyes didn't move, but as the brass gears beneath her feet clicked, a single saline tear track through the heavy face paint, dissolving the puppet mask to reveal the terrified blue eye beneath. She wasn't a puppet. She was a guest. They were all guests, centuries of them, preserved in a state of mechanical undeath, their joints replaced with ball bearings, their voices silenced by clockwork. The music box stopped. Behind me, I heard the heavy thud of the velvet curtain closing. The rhythmic clicking of the gears changed tempo. All at once, the puppets stopped their individual dances. The newsboy stopped waving. The Victorian woman dropped her teacup. One by one, 30 pairs of glass eyes swiveled in their sockets to look at me. From the shadows at the back of the tent, I heard the sound of a heavy wooden jaw unhinging. I didn't stay to see the host. I drew my pocket knife, slashed through the rear canvas of the tent, and ran until the sound of the calliope was a memory. By the time the police arrived the next morning, the field was empty. No tire tracks, no trampled grass, no sugar smell. The Ethelgard Carnival didn't exist on any route map. I live in a house with no mirrors now. No statues. No dolls. But sometimes, when the house is very quiet, I hear a rhythmic, mechanical creep coming from inside my walls.